I I have a little bit of a resting bitch face with this like big mustache. This is me if I like don't do anything. No, that's if I do something. This is my resting bitch face. That's what I do when I relax. People don't like to be around me. Can you guys hear music? I'm sharing the other monitor, but I haven't pulled it up yet. It's the campaign. Student God, what's up, man? Cool Teen, what's up? Yo, bringing people together. Cool Teen, Money, Student of God. Appreciate you guys. Cool Teen grabbed it already. Nice. Cool Teen. So I'm not mixing it up. You and me have met in person in Portland, right? I think we have. Um, Tweet out your live. No, I should do that. Let me do that. Let me do that. The big stream is tonight for Creative Block. I'm just going live to like hang out for a second while we launch, kind of thing. But yeah, hold on. I'm curious if the music picks up when I don't have the monitor shared, if it's still picking up the music. Right now it's in between songs though. It's just Donkey Kong music. Copy. Okay, I'm gonna tweet it. Okay, about to post. I'm saying live. Join me while I respond to tweets and emails and such. Cool Teen says, no, we haven't met. Okay, so I am mixing you up with someone else. That's cool. There's another like kind of name like that. That's one of the Hecka dudes. You got Hecka gave Hotel Story a shout out. They kind of are all doing their own thing, but one of them has a YouTube channel called Paper Starship that is really awesome. I just randomly found it too because it does little kind of like my channel, sort of only better, but it does some like little mini documentaries on movies and video games and stuff, and a lot of content on Metal Gear Solid and Hideo Kojima. But there's a few on like just kind of movies, sort of seemingly random, but they're movies that I love. So I click on them, and then the actual video is great. So I just kind of randomly reached out to that YouTuber, and then he was kind of affiliated with the Hecka crew who knew CG and knew me. So it was kind of a rare, I don't know if it's rare, but that was a case where actually reaching out to someone totally worked, and it was sweet. And then he's like, yeah, send me the book, I'll read it. So I sent him the book, and then they did a little Earthbound shout out on that channel, which the channel has like, I don't know if it's at 20,000 subscribers. It should be higher. There's one video too on it. That's Jolly Green. What's up, dude? Um, on Paper Starship. It's like a 2-hour documentary on Hideo Kojima, and it's kind of like the definitive Hideo Kojima documentary on YouTube. But whatever kind of BS is kind of a bummer. But I think it did not, the way the algorithm works. I don't know if it got 1,000 views or whatever, but it did not get as many as you would hope. Because we were all like, I was kind of hoping it would like level up that channel. I kind of thought it might, but you never know if I don't know how it works, if that can happen later. People can rediscover, but it's out there. YouTube's a lot like that. Like there's just content that gets made that is pretty good stuff that's kind of just sitting there. Then if the algorithm doesn't shine its godly light upon it at the initial release, then it's still there and it's just kind of collecting dust. And there's these like trash pickers that I go through the YouTube landscape looking for like little documentaries and such. Um, that's kind of what I do, and I make stuff for those people too. They're like, Grand Prix Part 2, let's go. Background noise, waving the hand. What about? How's it going? I'm seeing some names I'm recognizing. Uh, it says 6 people watching. So yeah, this is just a little morning hangout. Thanks everyone for being here. We can kind of take a look at the campaign here, I think. Wow, it is getting a little boost. This is fun. It's always fun to launch a campaign. Well, when I say fun, it does give you a big dopamine drop. There's no way to avoid it. So then what's funny is you definitely have the come down later. Like everyone knows this and relates to this too. Delhi, the reason for the season. Cool team. We need to get your books in Kojima's hands. That's hilarious. Wait, maybe one day, whatever. Hojo, what's up? Um, I love Kojima though. I could make a documentary on him myself. I was thinking about it a little bit that he's had a through line since the beginning where he's been, I don't know if you'd call it based or whatever, but I'll give you like the alternate is and this is like, I don't know if you'd say quote unquote controversial. It's not politically charged the way you might think in either direction. Either is like another weird thing, I think. So it's like a real opinion or whatever. But there's Red Dead Redemption. I was living with my cousin a few years ago. Red Dead Redemption 2, which by all accounts is a great game, and I kind of do think it looks amazing. But I randomly walked in, watched him play um, for like 15 minutes one day, and he was at some scene where he was running around like a kind of fort on the beach with cannons and stuff. And in that 15 minutes, he killed like 200 people. And I was like, no cowboy ever killed 200 people. Like, it just felt unrealistic. It felt stupid. It felt like a video game. And I was like, you know who doesn't do that? Kojima. Like, Kojima, he finds ways to make killing matter. And you can still kill. He'll always give you the choice. That's like an important thing because SJWs would be like, they would just take the option away from you, make the decision for you. But Kojima always gives you the choice, and he will like layer on the, what do you call it, the uh, repercussions or whatever, just to like make you think about it and stuff. And there's actually like quite a few examples. That's what the video would be. That and some other things because he did what's called like Bodokai or something. It's like the Sun RPG from Game Boy Advance. Um, yeah, but I just made up that word Bodokai. You know that, and you never know if you're gonna make up a terrible word when you guess. That reminds me that I met when I was in Austin long ago. I lived there for a little bit, and my parents' high school friends, who they don't keep that in touch with, but but they do keep in touch with, but not crazy amounts. They had friends who my parents didn't know that much, but they had a daughter who was my age. So they're like, we should be friends. And me and her were friends for a little bit, and it was kind of nice. Except I lived behind a, offshoot of a weird Buddhist borderline cult kind of offshoot thing, and it was fine. Like they're all nice, but one of those guys kind of latched on to that girl and broke her heart, and I felt bad about that because I introduced her to him. And she was young, and her heart was broken by a Buddhist cultist. But that's not the real story. I went up to their house for dinner once too, and it was like in the in the forest mountains of the hills above Austin, which it gets really pretty and green and kind of weird looking, really cool. It looks so different anywhere you go, like in America or the world. If you find like different, like the flora and fauna changes, it feels like so different, so alien. And it was really cool. Their house, I think I still have dreams about it because it was like a crazy kind of rich person house, huge glass walls that you could see through. Some of that's like cliche, but the other thing they had was a wraparound deck on the entire second level that was huge. And that's like, I have dreams about like that. And it would like, it's like liminal, like I would like try and recreate that maybe one day if I ever could. That'd be like a thing I'd like in a house is like huge second level deck that like extends all the way around the house and goes out quite a bit, like very airy, awesome deck. So they had that, and I had dinner with them. And the dad was rich. I don't even know how he made his money, but he was a conspiracy theorist of the top order, which is kind of hilarious. And it kind of is like they're enough removed from, because you kind of get to like the liberal elitism of like my parents and their friends, where they do not like conspiracy theorists. And the wife, you could tell she was ashamed of this guy because he was going on about it to me, because it was one in particular, and he's really into expanding Earth theory rather than plate tectonics. And he went into it pretty deep, and it was hilarious. He's like, the main thing he was saying too, because some of this stuff is like kind of well defended a little bit. It sort of works on me, you know. He's saying that it was the way the politics of the science passes on. You know, it's kind of more like it's all political, like not like Democrat Republican, but that it's like the follow the money type stuff rather than the best idea rising to the top. And like there will be at a sea change of scientific thought, there will be kind of like a passing of the torch for what's going to be like the next great unified theory that everyone accepts. And there's like a corruption to what creates that. And he was saying that plate tectonics was like the corrupt establishment ordaining that to be the thing. But there was another choice at the time, and this was like the 50s. And the forefront main scientist who was figuring all that out, he's like a rogue scientist, you know. He had written a book on it, and this guy, he had a bunch of copies of the book, and he knew that guy, I think, because it's so small. Because if you go on that level of like the rebellion, it's like, you know, dinner parties. They're talking about it at dinner parties and sipping wine, and he's like that. And that's what I was experiencing. He was spreading it to me like this mind virus of that it's expanding Earth. It's not plate tectonics, and he was getting kind of grumbly about it. And I was like, yeah, nice, whatever. Um, but but so that's like one kind of aspect of it. But then the other aspect is he was giving me a ride at some point. I forget why. So it was me, the girl in the back seat, I think. Maybe the wife was there too. And he was just talking. He was asking me a little bit what I do. And I was like getting into comics a little bit, you know, drawing and stuff. And he goes, I've heard a term thrown around related to that. Have you heard of it? It's called hentai. Have you heard of hentai? And I was like, "That's like Japanese porn drawings, I think." And he's like, "Oh." And it was like so awkward for the rest of the drive. And I didn't know if I handled that situation right. I just answered like honestly, kind of. Paul Bacheleda. Narrow Options' is first film adaptation. You know, something is I've kind of talked here and there on the channel, but I am trying to make a movie. But the thing is, even saying that, people take it different ways. Like this will be like an indie film. If I'm even successful, it'll be indie. But I bought like a mic and a boom pole and shit. So I'm trying to get good audio. And I finally, it's taken like a year, but I finally got two actors willing to do it more or less for free. And they're older, which is fun actually. But the whole script, that was part of it too, is I had to write something that I could shoot with just two people. And I wrote a full movie about an old man and an old woman arguing. And it is like narwhal style though. Like I'm like, I think it has a chance if I can make it. Like, but it doesn't have a chance to like be famous and make me rich, but it has a chance to like justify its own existence. And I'm doing the first like scene, which is like it almost like functions as a short film. That's like 10 minutes. We are doing that. Like we've had a first meeting already, second meeting coming up, and then we're going to kind of start shooting. So we'll see how it goes. Who knows? But that is like always kind of fun to dabble in a little bit. Um, Student of God, you got to read the room when talking about certain topics. Razorfist loves that game. Yeah. Hojo, that come down is rough. Yeah, talking about how the launch dopamine. We got 15 people watching. We can look at the campaign here. Let me see. Let me see where we are at. So this is, oh, another funny thing. It says raised in 3 hours. I think it went live at 5 a.m. For some reason. It said it was going to go live at 8 Pacific. I thought, but I think it might have been 8 Eastern, which is fine. So it was live with nobody knowing for 3 hours, and it sat at zero. And then as soon as I tweeted it out, emailed about it, it did start to kind of get backers coming in, which goes to show you that, yeah, it's like almost an experiment. Like, because I would almost wonder that it's like, could you literally just launch it and tell no one? And the answer is no. You have to tell people. The marketing is literally necessary to the process. And that would be, you know, functional up and down. Like the more marketing, the better marketing, the more eyes on it, the more money, all the way to zero. Zero marketing equals, for me, $0. I tried it on Kickstarter a while ago. I forget which book. I did a little test Kickstarter. I think, was it for Cerberus? I forget. But and I didn't tell anyone because those were the days where you'd get attacked for using Kickstarter. It was even not even like too long ago, but I was curious. But so I didn't tell anyone. I set the goal at 1,000, and it got up to like 600 or maybe even a little higher, but it did not hit 1,000. So it refunded and ended unsuccessfully. I was like, okay, so that actually was like some money coming in with literally doing nothing. But I haven't done a Kickstarter where I try yet. I need to do that and see, and we'll find out. We're collecting data. Cool Teen. I fell off behind crowdfunding while moving, but I won't miss a Narwhal book ever. Thanks, Cool Teen. Yeah, stoked. Yeah, we got this. This is part 2 of 6, so this will bring you up to a third through this arc, which is getting fairly deep into it. A lot is happening. It's a lot of fun. It's up to between issues 1 and 2. It's like 100 pages, and that's the first third. And then I'm really looking forward to part 3, and I think those 3 will make a trade, and that trade will be really good. And I'd really hope that would be like the kind of like a big jump on point where people are like really really sold on Earthbound and Narwhal stuff. And I need a sip of coffee. And then the whole second half of Grand Prix is like one giant action scene. And I'm like, will that even break up into, it's like 160-page action scene. Like, will that break up into episodes? And I'll have to find a way to do that, I think. But I'm like, I could almost release it as one giant thing if I could. But the first half very neatly and nicely breaks into 3 chunks that feel totally like issues. Like this one ends on a really fun kind of cliffhanger, not the annoying type of cliffhanger, but like the good cliffhanger. By the way, I've been reading a little more Mark Miller. Been reading Huck. It's amazing and very inspiring. Like all his stuff's really inspiring. But he's great at that type of cliffhanger. Like I don't know if there's a word where it's kind of like an escalation at the end, because it's not like the cliffhanger. Sometimes I feel like it's almost like a negative term, but his books always end with a kind of fun escalation that really makes you want to keep reading and find out what's going to happen with the next issue. And with his book, this is kind of how I read comics in general, but I always wonder and I ask people with my books if they're going to read it in one sitting, and that's kind of my goal. And a lot of feedback from Hotel Story has been that that's true, which is fun. It's because it is a hard challenge to structure something where it keeps that narrative drive strong for, in the case of Hotel Story, 124 pages. And that's halfway. And like Earthbound kind of did it successfully, the first Earthbound. And it's like even both trades you can read in one sitting. It's like almost 300 pages because it's structured kind of like a movie because movies are designed to do that. Like that's where I get a lot of my inspirations by just studying movies. Is they have a very specific kind of structure that tries to hold your interest for 2 hours. And where TV is a little different, but there's 2 kinds of addiction, and there's the addiction of like you want to know the end of the story, so you're going to keep turning the page till you finish the story. And then there's the kind of addiction like you finish the story or find a good stopping point, and then you kind of deliberately set it down because you want to cherish the process, and then you just look forward all day to the next time you might pick it up. Like novels are like that, where you're just not going to read them in one sitting, so you have to take sessions and breaks. And with novels, like during any specific section, if it's like really building up to a huge awesome climax and it's kind of a longer section, yeah, you'll read that whole thing in one sitting, but then you'll set it down. And with Mark Miller's comics, I have been enjoying doing it the other way, where I literally just read one issue a day. And I'm like, I want to read more, I could, but I like force myself not to. And I find myself just looking forward to reading the next one all day, which is kind of a fun thing. And I remember that feeling just, yeah, from any good novel, when you're really into a good novel, which I don't read too many novels these days. I read like just 2 or 3 a year or something. But that, especially from when I was younger, I can remember that feeling. Daily, is Percival going to be chapter structure since you'll be so long? Yeah, I have been, as I was writing it, marking like this would be a good break point. This would be a good break point. And so I think it kind of like Grand Prix, where that just, if it kind of has good structure, there's naturally going to be decent break points. But I realized even with that, like with Hotel Story, it does break halfway through, and there's like a big structural. A lot of stories are like that. Like even I watched Girl with the Dragon Tattoo last night, which is a great movie, and there's a point where the main guy hires the main girl, and they meet for the first time, and he recruits her to help him with the murder mystery, which is a great scene. And I paused it at that point. I was like, where are we in the story? I'm just curious. And they were literally halfway, like to the second. It was halfway through the movie where they finally meet. So it's like the first half is them doing their thing. Second half is them meeting and working together. And a lot of times movies will have that. So anyway, Hotel Story had that too, the halfway break point. Kill Bill is like that. Every movie you can pause it halfway and it'll feel like a structural point, kind of. That's within the 3-act structure. It's kind of weird. I'm not sure exactly what the name for it is, but that's like always there. So Hotel Story had that. So we're like, okay, we'll just break it at that point. But what we didn't, we got a little bit of feedback of people saying this was for an early version. People were saying the ending isn't satisfying. It doesn't feel like a complete book. And this is at like 120 pages. So we thought about it, and I was like, okay, we need to go, we're going to add like 4 pages. And so we added 4 pages. We added the first page of the next scene, where that kind of was like a little bit of a big reveal. So then the big reveal happens right at the end of book 1 rather than right at the beginning of book 2. And that changed everything. That alone fixed everything. Then people are like, oh yeah, it's like a cliffhanger, but it feels like a complete book. So it was good, like getting that feedback. A lot of people were kind of mentioning it, but Blake and Amanda both mentioned that kind of feeling. And so we were messing with it. Holy hand grenades. Mend the rift. Yeah. Water under the bridge, maybe. We'll see, I guess. Yeah, Delay. Give it a nudge. Simply Green Morning. Paul Bachetta. Funded and climbing. Oh, we passed a grand. Sweet. That's fun. What we should check too is if the original art sold. Yeah, we're getting backers coming in here. Let me see. So let's update it. And you guys ready for some dopamine? It's going to go from 57 to over 1,000, I think. Oh, I have to scroll down. Whoa, yeah. Cool. So 25 backers, almost 1,500. What is that average? That's quite a bit. 25, 2 point. It's over $50. Almost like 60. I wonder if the original art sold, that would raise the average. We can see. I wonder too if anyone's getting the hard covers, which is the big one. No backers yet on the hard covers. That's a decent deal, by the way, because it's 6 books, and the 2 hardcovers go for $100 each on eBay. So if you subtract the value of the 4 issues, they're like $60. That means the hardcovers go for $70 each. Nice. We got one add-on here. No extra hotel stories yet. That's another fun add-on. This Percival sketch still available. This one sold out. This one sold out. So we sold a couple of the original arts. That's fun. I always wonder. That's the most thing that I'm like. What I know what the word is, like nervous about, where you feel like you're putting yourself out there, and it would hurt. It would hurt my feelings if if none of them sold. I'd be like, oh. And you wonder what to price them at. You're like, I don't want to undervalue, I don't want to overvalue. And luckily I have a little bit of previous data because the past campaign had some original art, and it was in that zone, 125, 135. I think there was one for 150, and those all sold. So it means if they're quote unquote selling out, it's only 3 of them, but if they sell out, that means there's demand for more. And I'll try and keep doing them. I've been doing more traditional art, and I've been getting a little more in the zone and getting a little, better at it as I go. And it's just a matter of kind of getting comfortable with it. Because it's funny, like even the pen inking, it's different, traditional than digital. Digital is like, who gives a fuck? If you fuck it up, just hit Control Z and do it again. The pen is not like that. So every time I grab it, I get a little adrenaline rush. And I'm like, I kind of like, dude, oh, living on the edge, inking. I'm just inking. But actually, I found, because it was almost too much. It was breaking me. That's why I avoided it, because it was just too much. But if I'm using tracing paper, then you can kind of always fix it, and it's not that much extra work. If you do mess it up, then I go to the thing I'm tracing, which is usually like a pencil drawing, and I just ink directly on that, and then I cut it out with an X-Acto knife, and then I paste that over the inking that I effed up. And so I've been kind of doing that process, and that's been a lot of fun. Cover B is sold out. What? What is that? This is cover B. Cover A. Oh, you know what's funny? I kind of think cover B, I like it more than cover A, but cover A is part of the series. So here's cover 1 and 2. They have the characters through the bars of the Grand Prix, and it's going to continue like that. So the whole series will be like just character portraits through the bars of Grand Prix. So it's like a concept. It looks cool if you line them all up, but it's not like an amazing piece of art necessarily. And not necessarily that this is either. If I scroll down and show. So here's cover B. Here's cover A. Yeah, but I kind of like cover B, but it's not selling as much, but maybe that's just because it's cover B. Like cover B will always sell slightly less. Paul Butchletta, if it's selling, keep it up. Great practice. Butchletta grabbed the decapitation action shot. Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah, that one was fun. That one turned out good. And yeah, those are all the practice kind of, and the sort of production right now is the Percival project, which is kind of slow and in the background, kind of secret almost still, but that will be, a book down the line. And it's shaping up to maybe be my other big thing besides Earthbound. So I've kind of a side project that might be one-offs. They might be graphic novel length, like 200 pages, but they're still kind of like one and dones. And then Earthbound's actually kind of like a series of at least 3 of these kind of big graphic novel arcs, and then some other bonus stories and stuff. And maybe a prequel eventually, like a prequel to the prequel almost, because Earthbound 1 is almost like a prequel to Grand Prix. You can kind of read them in either order, which is nice. I've had a few people giving feedback about that it works either way, which is cool. But Percival, it's funny, and this is like another thing. Like, I don't really have like an episodic series, and I would like to do that one day. And that's like the different kind of addiction that I was talking about, where then it's not that movie type of pull your reader in and try and keep them for the whole story and then let them go. And the page turner or whatever. That's more like even like Columbo or something. Like, yeah, one story and it's totally satisfying, and then they put it down, but then they look forward to the next time they might pick it up. Um, and maybe short, and those shorter stories are shorter. They can be like 20 pages. Like um, Pete's doing that with King Cryptid, you know. And I kind of want to do a series like that too, but it starts to stack up of like, what do you even work on? Where does your time go? I've got a few other things going on too, so it's hard to like balance everything. But I want to do that. But Percival, the script, well, it took multiple drafts to get to the end. That's kind of usually how it worked. That's the way it was with Grand Prix too. It was like any draft will kind of hit a dead end point, because I'll sometimes kind of write a little bit straightforward, and I'm kind of figuring it out as I go, and then I'll hit a dead end, so I'll kind of start over from the beginning, and there'll be draft 2, and then I see how far I get, and each time I know more and stuff, and eventually you get to the end, and then maybe do one last final kind of polished draft. So I've reached the end with Percival, but I do have to go back and adjust a few things, and I've fully adjusted the first issue, so that's kind of what I'm drawing now. But that script is 200 pages as a movie. That would be almost too long for a movie. That would be a 3.5 hour long movie. So it's almost like a mini series. It's the first time I've written anything of that length. I kind of don't know what happened, but it's just like so much crap happens constantly, and it's a lot of fun. It's like really fun to do that. Like the first super long story. So that usually the general rule of thumb is, if it's a script that I'm converting to a comic, just double the script length. So like 200-page script would be about 400-page comic. So that would be like, 4 trades almost, whereas Earthbound is 2 trades. So it'd be double the length. It's almost like the length of Earthbound and Grand Prix combined will be just one Percival story. And yeah, and even there is an opportunity for a sequel, and that could be long and epic too. So Percival might eventually be two long stories. Simply Green. I'll have to look things over. Still trying to squeeze in Rini after mailing. Similar. Hit a bit of a rough point, cycle back to start, cleaning and tightening as I go. Oh, talking about writing. How long will the campaign up? I'm barely about to start working again. I don't want to miss out. It's 48-day campaign, Holy Hand Grenades. No in demand, but there will be an Indiegogo, short Indiegogo towards the end, which actually might overlap slightly at the end, I think, because the way this one's fully drawn. I have to letter it still, but I want to fulfill it in May, which is not that far off, which would be kind of fast, actually, now that I think about it. Be there in no time. So towards the end, there will be a little Indiegogo option. The Indiegogo option won't have the mini comic, and it won't be signed, I think. So it might just sign it, unless people don't want me to sign them. I don't know. Some people don't. But definitely no mini comic. This campaign, everyone gets a mini comic. You get a mini comic. You get a mini comic. And the mini comics are going to be very special. They're a smash hit. I feel like and they're getting some feedback with Hotel Story. I do think people enjoy it, and I notice a lot of people, they assemble their mini comic, and it's what I was hoping is like, because I just provide the printout, and then the backer assembles it, which requires one snip with scissors and then some folding, and then your mini comic is fully assembled and it's yours forever. And I was like, I think the act of them assembling it themselves is actually going to like kind of be cool. It's going to make them like it, a little more. And I feel like that is happening. So I'm like, man, mini comics are kind of a hit, and they're basically $0 overhead. It's like printer paper, and I have a laser printer. Yeah, you just make the print file, you print it out. It's designed, the print file of 8 pages is designed to lay out on 8.5 by 11 regular printer paper. So for Earthbound, for Grand Prix, there is a mini comic that will be fun, that will be, and they're always like they're not even necessarily like deleted scenes, because sometimes deleted scenes can feel like, oh, there's a director's cut, you should include that, it's important to the story. They need to be like sort of not important to the story. So like they really don't matter, but they got to be fun and cool, and they got to add a lot. So like little additions to lore is like one way to do it, or like, I don't know, like, yeah, like, so for the Grand Prix, I'll give you one example briefly. I don't want to give even like too many spoilers, but like the way the Grand Prix works, it's kind of like a one-way portal, and there's basically no way out once you go in. And they still need kind of like an import export. Maybe it's just import basically, but they have like an import type system to get some things in there that they might need. And that's a little bit what like some of the mini comic might be about. Penthouse Comics is selling Mad. We can have our own version with e-girls. There's no shortage of them. Magazines. Yeah, well, you get extra sales anytime you include, like, even if it's like a character, if it's like an action, like Tomb Raider or something. There, like, what was that? The artist, I forget. It's like Campbell or whatever, Campbell Soup. He drew Danger Girl. And maybe it was a Tomb Raider pinup that he did or something, but it was so good. I was like, that, just that one drawing, you're like, oh, that would sell a lot. I can just imagine. I've thought about that. It's like, can you make a story like a sellout story, or just designed to sell a lot? And it's like about a hot action girl. But even within that, people are kind of sick of the girls that can punch better than men or whatever. But there's a way you could make it work. That was actually one thing I enjoyed about Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, is it's like, if it was made today, you can just picture the ways they would ruin it. David Fincher might be immune to that, but maybe that's why they wouldn't make it today. But it's an example of a badass action girl who's like a genius and maybe more badass than the guy, but it doesn't feel like the super ridiculous modern narrative stuff that's so hacky that everything is doing right now. It feels like, it makes me nostalgic for that era. Like right before everything got woke, there was still examples that the woke people would claim that there's not an example that they're trying to fix or whatever. And those examples are great. Like you can totally make an awesome movie about a badass genius girl who's like possibly more badass than the guy. And yeah, and it don't even matter. Genuine. Hello, Narwhal. Greetings, chat. What's up, Genuine? How's it going? Genuine, do you have a campaign that's live right now? And we have a mod. Let's let people know about that too. Yes. So let me see what's happening. Got some backers. Maybe let's update it one more time. And then I actually have one random thing to kind of talk about. Tonight on Creative Block, I'm talking about Show Don't Tell. It's going to be the classic PowerPoint, and I am going to the word I used for the stream is interrogate it, but that's because it's funny. Like that's pretty much one that is impossible to like talk shit about. But there's little things you can try and find, and like if you break it down, you're like, what are the exceptions or whatever? Are there any, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so Show Don't Tell tonight, but today I have another one. I was like, this would be a good Creative Block thing, but I'm like, I just have a little bit of thoughts on it. I was like, we could talk about that this morning, but it's fantasy and it's not like sexual fantasy. But I was like, speaking of that, that's a trick to make a lot of money is, because I noticed this watching Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, is that it's a super successful novel. It's totally a fantasy. You might say a male fantasy. It's more the guy than the girl, a fantasy. But I think the girl could be like a fantasy too. But so I'm like, what are the points that we would like fantasize about? And so one of them is that you get an offer for someone because you're such an expert. They say, "Come live on my island for a little bit and work for me on your special project in solitude and complete your special project on my island because you're an expert." So that's the fantasy. There's a bunch of examples of that, and there's a few like in real life, like, um, but I know I've literally had that fantasy, like, and I so anytime like it's a way you could build something that would be like extra, have a little bit of that extra possibility become super pop, is if it has like the fantasy elements where the reader could that not that they're not the art's always designed that way. And I know Ethan talks about that women do that more than men. Women will project into themselves into the character, and men kind of don't. They just enjoy it and observe or whatever. But having that option that you could, if you want to, we all feel it. I think we feel that fantasy being fulfilled, and it's even more with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's not just that. There's other ways where it hits the fantasy. One of them too is getting thrown, getting it's almost like the Last Man on Earth fantasy, but it's getting thrown together with a super like interesting woman, where you end up working together, but it's not like it's like the situation brings you together more than because that's like more of the fantasy is like that it's like fate kind of thing rather than you have to work out for I don't know a year straight, get six-pack abs, then go to the grocery store, then get the balls to talk to a stranger, and then yeah, maybe you have a hot girlfriend. And you're like, fuck yeah, I got a hot girlfriend. Nobody fantasizes about that. People fantasize about the more lazy version, which is like, yeah, fate. Didn't do shit. Got thrown in like Speed is like that. Get thrown in with the hot girl, thrown together in an adventure. So it's something there's like millions of examples, but Girl with the Dragon tattoo also hits that. So, but I was kind of lacking where I was getting with that is like if you can do these like fantasy fulfillment type stories, you want to know what the fantasies are. So you're kind of making a list, and like totally one of them is get recruited to go to an island by a rich guy, and he's going to pay for you to live while you get to work on a special project. um, and these could almost be like tropes or whatever. Like I'm like I want to write my version of that story where that exact thing happens. Um, and so then but I was thinking about what are like the pop novels that have come out in the last 20 years. Every single one of them is a fantasy fulfillment type of story. Like you might like isekai might be a little bit like that, but Harry Potter is definitely a fantasy fulfillment story. Um, and then the other one kind of maybe more for girls, but it's yeah, get swept off your feet by Freaky Billionaire. What's that one called? Something gray, Shades of Gray, and then Twilight is like that. It's a fantasy fulfillment. Some of them do dabble into like sexual fantasy, but I'm telling you, it's just like fantasy. Like we all fantasize. Like what do you fantasize about? I'm interested in the non-sexual fantasies. Like definitely. I mean, the one I keep saying is recruited by a rich guy where he pays for you to live on his island and you get to complete your special project. Um, but I swear there's like a million others. And then uh but even what the pop ones, the other one was the other big one was the the Mockingjay one. I forget Hunger Games. And I'm like, what are the ways that that one is a fantasy fulfillment? Um it kind of is in a lot of ways too. They're all fantasy fulfillment stories. Um and Star Wars is almost like that. And I was laughing because with Star Wars, there's actually a shot of Luke looking out at the horizon, on Tatooine, looking at the sunset. And it's like, guess what he's doing in that shot? He's fantasizing. And yeah, so like maybe there's something to that too. Start with a character who fantasizes and then take them on an adventure where their fantasies are fulfilled. But you don't have to do it blatantly. And I was like, I wonder if the main guy in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, it's not like he's sitting there fantasizing, but it starts with him like yearning and longing for sure, like in dealing with some bullshit kind of thing. Then he gets pulled away out of his world. It's like a little bit of this like Harry Potter isekai almost thing. Much like Arc Cinnamon Bun Navigator from Rogue Trader, there's a desire to protect. That's probably a more masculine one. Neff, Hell Narwhal, congrats on the launch. Thanks, Neff. Stoked. Genuine says, for many creators, it's best not to include their fantasies in their books. Cough, Tom King. That's hilarious. That's definitely true. But the other thing, yeah, it's so funny. Tom King is kind of the worst. But putting like your fantasies in a book, that's a little thing of like putting yourself out there. That's kind of fun, sort of. Or we were talking about it on Creative Block of like being like the courage to be cringe is kind of a good art skill. I think I would definitely wouldn't mind a little cringe if it meant more people are just really putting themselves out there. But Tom King is the worst, so I don't know. The needy guy gets the chick because he's nice. Yeah, that is like fantasy. You would sell copies if you did that. Although that's not necessarily true. So you're also trying to go for. I don't know if you can do both at the same time or find a fantasy that's also like true or whatever. I think that might be a thing a little bit with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is like the book. I don't know if he's I'm pretty sure they sleep together and he's like a fat middle-aged dude in the book and it's a fantasy fulfillment for the author that he's oversharing a little bit because it is a little bit cringe and people have I'm remembering people talk about this and that's one kind of awesome thing that the movie changes is because it makes it James Bond. What's his name? Shit, I can't think of him. I brain farting or whatever, but it's that guy. And yeah, he's got I think it was around the time he was doing James Bond. So it's literally James Bond. And of course it makes a lot more sense that they would like kind of hook up and be a couple while they're working on the case together. That's funny. David Fincher has done that with a few different projects where his movie is arguably better than the book, and that's really rare. But he's done it. He did, especially with Fight Club, is an interesting one. Fight Club's a great book, but the movie is a little bit better. You can so easily make the Hunger Games into a horror. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of loosely based on the original short story. It's called The Lottery. I mean, I don't know it's loosely based, but The Lottery is like it must be almost loosely based on The Lottery. The Lottery's effed up. Paul butchered Daniel Craig. Yeah. Daniel Craig. You may be surprised how many things you could turn into horror for sure. Let me see. So I'm gonna update this. See where we're at. 32, almost 2,000. We're getting some backers coming in. Cool. I wonder. Yeah, I wonder. Speaking of like how the numbers work, I think the last one with the Indiegogo combined did 600 pretty quickly in like a month. So this is going to go a little bit longer than that. So hopefully we beat 600. Yeah, and I mean we're on our way. We'll see a lot of Earthbound readers out there. But yeah, Slim Crow, like what you're doing. Can't wait to read it. Thanks, Slim Crow. Thanks for the tweets. Genuine comics. The courage to be cringe. Yeah, there's something to that. I would rewrite the Hunger Games to where they look like they're actually starving. That would make it, yeah, like horror. That's cool. It's creepy. I'm catching up a little bit with the chat here. Caught up with most of it. Sorry if I missed anything. And I'm kind of wrapping up a little bit the stream. I'm just hanging here. We can see. I'm waiting for to see if this other sketch sells. It did sell. Would you look at that? That's crazy. Thanks everyone. But so all three sketches sold. Um, so at some point I might try and put some more sketches up. You got you got to kind of what is it called? Work with the Fun My Comic people to kind of plan it so that I'll update it and then they reapprove it. Usually maybe like in the early morning or late evening maybe or something. So because if you edit it, then it can't be backed until it gets approved or whatever. So I might add some more sketches at some point to like treat yourself. Treat yourself. Yeah. Yep. Combining some Mark Miller quotes of his compliments over the past couple years. He and I have been pen pals a little bit. He's been in my corner. Um, Tom Tuttle. This for like I screenshot this tweet because I'm like, oh, that's like a good little compliment there. I really appreciate Tom Tuttle. He's great. We're collaborating on a little something something. It's his project. I'm just helping a little bit. Uh, but that's gonna be cool. But yeah, 541 backers, second only to General Piggy, who has more than him, but just by a few. That's kind of the most in all of CG backers, I'm pretty sure. 541. And Tom reads all the books, and his favorite is Earthbound. I'm like, ooh, that's cool. That's a good endorsement. So yeah, combining when you compile multiple compliments all in a row, it I was like, oh, look at that. Come a long way. And the video's like that too. We won't watch it now, but check out the video. It's random compliments compiled to give me a big head. But definitely Earthbound is something people can trust and jump in on. We're trying to make it kind of like a little bit of some bragging rights for the indie scene. Some dope ass shit. Jolly Green, we need more sketches. Yeah, we can get some sketches going. Sketches. I could eventually try and do a little like Greenie and Jake do. They do the auction, but just for now, just the other thing I kind of might try and do is a little giveaway, maybe tonight at the second half of Creative Block, just one or two. I have a few boxes that got packed years ago, and then just I had more packed than I needed to ship out, so they've just been sitting there. I think it's like Val Crenshaw. One of them is me. Nice, thanks, Val. Oh, that's cool. Um, yeah, one of the got the. I think it's the hardcovers from Earthbound first edition are packed up. So those whatever like go for eBay on for like $100 and I'll give a few of those away. But yeah, we'll get kind of winding down here for this initial launch stream. This is nothing crazy. Might even do one in the afternoon, but probably the next big one is tonight for the creative block. So we're gonna be around, tune in. That'll be fun. Though it won't be a huge focus on Grand Prix. Will just be a nice regular creative block, but this will be a thing we'll be kind of checking in with here and there. And then maybe the second half, especially, will definitely be like promoting a little bit, hanging out. It'll be fun. Rooster Rokatansky, hell yeah, Nardog. Thanks, Rooster. Find some space thing to celebrate. Yes. Yeah. I did a giveaway stream, like a straight up giveaway stream, for the Grand Prix one, and it was fun. But you know what was hard is actually I did like I don't know, I gave like 10 things. It was hard to then organize and make sure everyone got their shit mailed to them. So I'm like, I just want to do like one or two. Uh, because then you got I don't know, it's a little bit different than like Indiegogo or Fund My Comic, where you get the backers, you get the list, you order the copies, you pack them, you ship them out. If you do a giveaway on a live stream, it's kind of like, okay, who was that? Can you email me? But I don't want to give it away publicly. So, and I actually don't mind probably giving away my email publicly, but like DM me on Twitter, follow me first. Oh, you're not on Twitter? Okay, try it. And then let me know your address where I can mail it, blah, blah, blah. Passmaster, why do you always look cold? I just like being warm. No, it's like I'm in the shade right now. It's actually a nice sunny day. You know what I got to do today, actually? Mow the lawn, the first of the season. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I might do that like now-ish when I get off here. Jump on, mow the lawn, go like this. You guys ever do something and then do that? That's what I'm about to do when I mow the lawn. Passmaster, Pacific Northwest. Yeah, and it's been slow getting to spring. It's like today is a nice day, but it's been like winter, like straight up as yesterday. It was like winter. If you do a giveaway for backers, you already have their info. Yeah, that could be a way to do it. In the past, it was just through YouTube, so it wasn't just even for backers. But Paris Scandinavian, he should handle the cold okay. Yeah. Well, I kind of do, but my feet get cold. I got poor circulation in my feet. And I'm ashamed. I'm super ashamed about that. Just incredibly ashamed. Dale A, I decided Hotel Story has a John Carpenter soundtrack. That's perfect. That's funny. Simply Green, I still have AIDS too. Yeah, hold on to that because that's a Narwhal NFT. So it's like, I think I said in 2030, you could redeem it for $500 worth of Narwhal stuff, which might just be one or two original sketches, which is fine. I mean, that'll be like still pretty good stuff. But until then, you just have to hold this piece of cardboard. Some Photoshop pics to promote. I'll make some of those. I don't have any right yet, but yeah, even me mowing the lawn or something, we'll get some stuff together. Uh, let me see here. Maybe we'll do one more update. What are we looking at? Yep, we're getting there. Getting some buckers. Yeah, I wonder if it's. I get emails when the backers come in and it's up to 46 and this is 36. I'm like, have there been 10 refunds already? I'll look into that because that was something I was like nervous about is like it is potentially what like trolls could do or something. They could like back and refund over and over again. Not to give them any ideas, but that would be a bummer. I don't think it'd be worth their time though to do that. That'd be really weird. That's probably why but it's sometimes I'm like, I've seen stuff that looks mysterious. It's like, why are people, one person will be like backing and refunding multiple times? What's going on? Bring back Narwhal Fitness. Yeah, that's what I got to do. Bring them back. Yep, yep, yep. Cool. Well, now I'm still just sitting here awkwardly. I think I finished my coffee. I'm going to go mow the lawn and be back later today. And yeah, thanks everyone for being here. Good little opening stream. It's been a fun little launch here. And we'll keep going. I will yeah, I will definitely do a few more sketches before the campaign ends. Maybe 3 more, so it'll be 6 total. I don't know. Oh, with FMC backers can stack items, so it only shows the amount of checkouts. Yeah, maybe that's it. I think that probably makes sense. Cool. That makes me feel a little better if it's I was just getting paranoid. I am prone to paranoia. Uh, all right. I will see everyone later. Thanks everyone for being here. And I'll be around, we'll be hanging out. Really appreciate you guys and catch everyone later. I missed it by just like 4 seconds.